Assalamu alaikum. We are here with the next lecture of Organization of Commerce and Management from the very same chapter that we have been studying, that is chapter number 1, Principles of Management. And we are studying the topic of 14 Principles of Henry Fayol. We have already studied the 9 principles of Henry Fayol, that is depot and focus. Now today we'll be studying on seeds, division of work, initiative, unity of command, parity of authority and responsibility, fair remuneration, order, centralization and decentralization, unity of direction, stability of tenure. All these principles we have already studied in much detail. Today we'll be studying about the last 5 principles of Henry Fayol, that is subordination of individual interest to general interest, equity, esprit de corps, discipline, and scalar chain. The first principle that we are going to study today is principle of subordination of individual interest to organizational interest. What do you mean by subordination of individual interest? Subordination of individual interest means giving your personal gains, giving your personal needs a second option and putting the organizational needs and interests first. According to this principle, Mr. Henry Fayol suggests that every individual working in an organization should work for the organization first and then work for his own self-betterment and his personal goals. According to this principle, the interest must be of individual, selfish interest of the individual or the personal interest of the individual should be given less importance while taking decisions in the organization. The manager should always consider the interest of the whole group rather than the interest of a single employee. It is based on both of them, the managers also and the employees also. The employees should also prefer to keep organization interest first and the interest of the employees second. Also, the manager should not do any partiality between one employee and another employee just because he is favorable to him. No, if the favor is not in the interest of the organization, we should always look forward for the organization. For example, there must be an employee who is related to manager by certain means. Maybe he is his son or his nephew or somebody like that, and he wants him to prosper. But while giving promotion, there are 2 employees, one which is related to the manager and the other one who is very loyal to the organization and who deserves the promotion. So the manager should always prefer the one person who deserves the promotion, because if he is deserving and he is promoted, he will be more beneficial to the organization as compared to the other person. Okay, and similarly the employee should also keep their personal goals second and put organizational goals first. Maybe there must be employees, for example, they want their salary to be increased. That is their personal gain. But they know that the organization is not in a position to increase their salaries, so they do not go on strike for their personal wants to be satisfied. They should always work for the organization, that if I'll work for the organization today and the condition of the organization improves tomorrow, I will automatically get good salary. They should think like this and not keep their personal gains first. That's it for the principle of subordination of individual interest to organizational interest. And the next principle that we are going to study is principle of equity. Now this principle here, it should be studied very keenly and carefully. Management should be fair as well as friendly to the subordinates while dividing the work, delegating authorities, deciding the monetary terms, etc. Like if a manager is allocating work and delegating authorities, he should not discriminate between his employees on the basis of caste, religion, gender, or priorities. It should also suggest that it is also suggested by Mr. Henry Fayol that the remuneration should not depend on the department but at the level on which subordinates are working. Like sales department, production department, it should not be based on these departments, but it should be based on where the employee stands in the levels of management. If he stands in the lower level management, his remuneration should be considerably low as compared to the middle level management. The employees working on the same level but in different departments should be paid same wages. They should not be given any priority. Like you are doing marketing, you should be given more money, and the other person is doing production, you should be given less money. No, this is wrong. If both production and marketing department are at same level, lower level or middle level, their payment or their salary should be fair, should be equal. The principle of equity is a combination of both equity and equality. There should be equality of people on the same level, but equality does not always brings efficiency in an organization. This I would like to explain you with the help of an image. Like you can see in the very first image, it has been clearly written that there should be equality, there should not be any biasness on the basis of gender, religion, nationality or language. People should be treated, employees should be treated equally. But in the second picture, I would like to explain you something which is very important. There is a difference between equality and equity. In the first image, you could see, in the second picture, first image, you could see equality, where every employee is given equal treatment. The taller one, the smaller one, and the middle one. All of them are given only one stool. But this, is this fair enough? Like you can see that the tall person does not really require a tool, but he has been given a tool, and the very short person, he is not able to see the match even after having a tool. So equality is not bringing efficiency, is not doing justice in this case. So here the principle of equity should be applied. According to the principle of equity, the person who does not require something should not be given that unwantedly. Like the first person was tall enough to stand on his feet and watch the match. If he is not given his tool, it would be fine, and that tool could be used for the short person so that he could stand up on it and watch the match. When the principle of equity was applied, the taller person gave his tool to the smaller person, and all three of them were now able to watch the match and enjoy the game. So that is what principle of equity focuses on, on equality on the basis of religion, gender, nationality, and also equity when it comes to bringing efficiency in the organization. The next principle that we are going to study is principle of aspirate the corpse. Henry Fayol has given emphasis on teamwork. The very first principle of Henry Fayol suggests division of work. Work should be divided, but this principle suggests that people should come together as a team and work as a union, because union is strength. We have always heard that story of a farmer who brings his son and gives them sticks and asks them to break it, and they are able to break it, but when he gives them a bunch of sticks, they are not able to break it. Then he makes them understand that unity is strength. I want you all to be united and all those things. Yes, you are all aware about that? Yes. So here Henry Fayol also focuses on that very same principle, that union is strength. If you want to get things done, you have to have the power of a team. You have to have the power of a union. If an individual employee goes up and puts his opinion, he won't be considered. But if he goes up as a union of employees and then says that this is the decision of the union or this is the request of the union, the top manager have to listen to him, because now only one person is not affected, the entire organization is affected, and their interest is important to the manager. Running any organization is a group activity, and human resources are the valuable assets of the organization. If all employees are working as a union and with mutual trust, the difficulties can be solved. It would be very easy to get things done in case of working as a team. Therefore, as a leader, as a manager, one should create a spirit of teamwork and understanding among its employees to achieve organizational goals easily. The next, second last principle of Henry Fayol, the 13th principle, is principle of discipline. According to Fayol, discipline is the most essential thing in the organization. It is the essence of the organization. Every employee should obey to the rules, regulations, and in order to achieve organizational goals. Good discipline is a result of effective leadership. There must be clear understanding between the management and workers regarding the organizational rule. Basic discipline should be observed at all levels of management. True, discipline is very important in all the organizations, be it a school, a college, a business organization, or a hospital. Discipline should be followed. Rules and regulations should be given importance. If everything is indisciplined, people are doing whatever they want to do, everybody is coming late, they are not well dressed, they do not have proper uniforms, so everything is inefficient. People won't feel same. Like in schools and colleges, we know that there is uniform for every student. Why? Because no student should feel inferior or superior. Also, nobody could boast of or flaunt their unnecessary things in front of others. If there is equality, if there is proper following of rules and regulations, if proper discipline is followed in a school or a college, all the students are feeling equal. They do not get demotivated. They tend to come to school every day. But if there is no rule, if there is no regulation, the students which are poor will feel inferior, and they won't be able to cope up with the attitude of the people who are superior. So that would bring indiscipline and that would bring inefficiency. Similarly, in an organization, if rules and regulations are followed, everything will fall in place and all the organizational goals will be achieved efficiently. What are the bases of discipline? Respect of authority, obedience, proper conduct, fair and clear rules and regulations, careful use of penalties. Not only providing rules and regulations, but also providing penalties to people who are violating these rules and regulations. Because what is the use of a rule if it is not a punishable offense to not follow it? If you are just making rules and people are not following and you are not telling them anything, then people won't be following your rules and there will be indiscipline in the organization. The last principle and the most important principle of Henry Fayol is the principle of scalar chain. The principle of scalar chain. Scalar chain means the hierarchy of authority from top level to the lower level for the purpose of communication. Scalar chain is basically the chain of communication that is followed in an organization from top to lower level and lower level to top level. This helps to ensure orderly flow of information and communication. There is an example: a general manager informs the decision to functional manager, then functional manager will pass it to the supervisor will inform it to the foreman. This is according to the levels. General manager is at the top, then comes functional manager at the middle, and supervisors and foremen at the lower level management. So there is a chain followed. The top is telling to the middle and the middle is telling to the lower. But Henry Fayol also suggests that there should be an introduction of gangplank, which is direct communication between the levels of management, cross communication between the levels of management in times of need. But this direct communication should have proper permission and authority. I would like to explain you with the help of a diagram. See, in this diagram there is a level of management. The topmost authority sitting in this is A, and it is followed by its subordinates B and L, and which are followed by their subordinates C and M, D and N, E and O, F and P, and at the last G and Q. So if G wants to communicate something to A, he will communicate it to F, F to E, E to D, and D to C, and at last C to B and B to A. So this requires a large time. Communication is going upwards from G to A with the intermediaries in between. Similarly, if A has certain rules made and he wants it to be followed by the entire organization, he will communicate to B and L. They will communicate it to C and M, then D, E, F and G. So this would be downward communication from the top level management to the lower level management. Henry Fayol says that these levels of communication, this chain of communication should be followed for effective organization. He focused that there should be superiority in an organization. It is right. If the lowest level of management, supervisor and foreman, dashes into the office of the board of directors and says that I want to do this and I want to do that, that won't be healthy enough. So he should always go to his immediate boss, and then his immediate boss will go upwards to the board of directors. But it is a very time consuming process, and there are certain decisions which does not have time. If an employee waits for a big chain of communication to be followed, the opportunities will be lost or the problem will emerge, the problem will increase. So at this time of need, Henry Fayol suggested that a bridge can be applied for cross communication. That bridge is called as gangplank, wherein people of same level or people, if you want to communicate with somebody of another level, you can communicate it, but with proper permission. As we have studied earlier, the principles are not rule of thumb, they can be modified. Here Henry Fayol is suggesting that scalar chain should be followed, but then he is also giving some leniency by providing gangplank. I hope we are all done with the 14 principles of management from division of work till scalar chain, and you should be well rehearsed and revised with all these 14 principles of management. Thank you so much.